Alright, so I was reading this book today, and it was talking about like these mind tricks. And so basically, we have ways of control. I don't want to say controlling, but pretty much commanding other people's perceptions of us for good or for worse. Are actually based on whether they're true perceptions based on the real self or false perceptions based on an imaginary self. Anyways, all of this traces back to me driving down the highway today and blowing past a state trooper at 90 miles an hour and using the techniques in this book for him basically not to do anything. Now, I've done this with several police officers. I've gotten out of all kinds of different things. I don't know if it's karma from my past when I got beat up by 6 police officers, or whether it's just this principle that's outlined in this book is real. And, I never really thought about it as if it were real, even though I've used it several times in my life. But reading this book has really brought this principle home to me, and I wanted to share it with you. So, the name of this book is The Imaginary Self by Michael William Springer. I have a physical copy of the book, which is very unique. I have seen it before, but the actual one that I will be owning is in the mail on its way to me from Amazon.com. Right now I have the ebook, so let me pull that up. And yeah, here it is. I'll show it to you on my phone first. I don't want to move the camera. Yeah, that's basically the front cover of the book. Anyways, so let me read that copy to you so you can get an idea. Imagine being in a dream reading this book backwards word for word while doing a front flip off a cliff at the same time. The way this book is written distracts you from the fall, allowing you access to the parachute that is neatly tucked away. We are penetrating the barrier of fear known as the imaginary self that holds the real us back. As we are doing this, the same feelings of joy are arising as if we are parachuting together in tandem. So is this really a dream, or are you just reading this book backwards? What you hold in your hands right now has an infinite number of pages reflecting who we really are. Although it seems to have a beginning and an end, we realize that this guide is being read to us in the present moment. Having already made the jump into this multidimensional manual, we are awoken to a signal that is coming from within. This message of Supra Cosmic Intelligence is heavily assisting us from beyond the veil of the imaginary self. All the distortions that are standing in the way of Supra Being are being blown away by a gentle breeze as we make our descent through 33 chapters. The original template of our soul is being restored in this present moment as we read this. The regressed way language was encoded created an unconscious barrier to growth when it came to integrating what we read, heard, and touched. This book is breaking encoded blocks in the traditional language algorithm and allowing the energy of the original template of being to make its imprint. Ever since this book began being read, a sequence of commands have been initiated that will indefinitely continue on. Rereading this book in its entirety a few times quickens the completion of what it has already set out to do. And that is to thoroughly respond to the distress call of the human soul. We are finally here, experiencing we are finally here enjoying this experience with ourself, through ourself, as ourself, in tandem with the imagination as it always has been. Michael William Springer, 2015. Alright, so that's the back of the book. Okay. So, yes, there's 33 chapters in the book. So, and they're written in reverse. It's almost like a reverse countdown, like a hypnosis script, like an induction. Yeah, and a lot of the book it's written in present moment. I almost feel like whoever wrote it utilizes like conversational hypnosis, NLP stuff like that. Like this, like if you read this, you'd be screwed. I mean, like you're lucky that if you pick this book up that it has good intentions. Let's just say that. So I'll do a quick synopsis of the chapters or whatnot, table of contents. So 33, a veil between two worlds. 32, the descent begins. 31, a natural state of being. 30, amnesia. 29, a normal reaction to an abnormal situation. 28, the imaginary self. 27, the illusion that impinged. 26, the plug and the implant. 25, rebooting the true self. 24, autonomic miracle. 23, Supra Being, an infinite body of light. 22, mind tricks. 21, turning up the volume of creation. 20, the self-image. 19, flowing with the conductor. 18, our mind is a bioantenna. 17, the real-time torrential flow of the signal. 16, the rise of the real. 15, backwards and unrecognizable. 14, more mind tricks. 13, the return of our self. 12, the fundamental act of creation. 11, the anti-force of entropy. 10, a mass networked consciousness. 9, there is enough for one through flow. 8, idol worship and hate. 7, the mirrored luminous fractal. 6, complication becomes simplified. 5, the signal continues to broadcast. 4, forgetting the fall. 3, this is a self-cure. 2, side effects and the withdrawal. 1, dematerialization of death, connections restored. Interesting. So, yeah, I know interesting about this too. I don't know. It has something to do with numerology, or the fact that it's written by the Spiritual Atom Bomb Press. Is that it says it has 11,111 words, 33 chapters, and 66 pages. I was like, how did they do that? Alright, so, I think it's chapter 22. This is verse. Interesting book. Mind Tricks, 22. When someone wrongs us, we are responsible for bringing the self that we all partake in out of that person. Know that the imaginary self is a distortion of the true self. It is a lifeless proxy that is animated by the energy of a spiritually imprisoned being that does not know what it is doing. This disease of perception is just that. We do not care who it is coming from, whether you, me, or them, because disease is dis-ease, whether in you, me, or them. It must go at all costs. To attack a person is to attack ourselves and tighten the chains even more. We are energetically mirrored all the way down to a single thought. If the imaginary self is projected onto us by another physical being, whether close up or at an unseen distance, it will distort our thoughts, feelings, and emotions. This is the nature of what is projected. The mind will then interpret the distortion to be coming from within, thus fooling the beholder unless we are aware of this process. So say one is lost within the imaginary self, thus feeling its nature of insecurity. This insecurity will block the projection of our true self from consciously connecting with another physical being. This lack of connection will then link to any unconsciousness in that being, bringing out a corresponding imaginary self reaction. For example, if we beat ourselves up inside and radiate this lack, another unconscious being will pick up this frequency. Unknowingly, for some reason, they could have feelings of hatred for us and unconsciously act it out on us. Both beings are innocent because in reality they are the same love being divided and distorted by a shared opposition that does not even exist in reality. To stop this cycle, one can determine the response they get by immediately holding their mind's eye onto the original template of being, once they sense the impinging distortion. We do this by blanking out our mind and emotions and stopping our thoughts like in meditation. Thus, we are disengaging any distortion. As we are doing this, we realize it is the only escape. Pursuing the imaginary self directly with our intellect is fruitless because it mutates like a virus. Our attempt at success proves fruitful as we let the thoughts and feelings of the imaginary self fall through our fingers like sand. We surrender the imaginary self. Now that that is done, the projected error in consciousness has unraveled and fallen apart, leaving the other person at a loss to why the urge to attack us just fell apart. Our imaginary self has been rendered powerless. We just held our ground. In other words, we held our own universal ground through all beings as one. Master. Whoa. These are the real mind tricks of harnessing the Force. Our state of being or not being will determine the outcome of our interactions with the rest of ourself. We are one with the entire evolution of self that the other person shares with us. All conscious points representing self are responsible for the entire evolution of humanity on a whole, or rather its own true self as Supra Being. If any being wants to encounter heaven sometime within eternity, they are going to have to create it. Would one want to keep facing the same problems over and over, possibly life after life? The amount of myself that I'm liberating is unquantifiable. Wow. Yep, and then it goes on to the next chapter, 21, turning up the volume of creation. Yep, so this book, the name of it is The Imaginary Self, Removing the Veil to Supra Being. I guess I can do this now. Yeah, that's the book right there. Right. Oops, move that over. Alright. Copyright 2015, The Spiritual Atom Bomb Press. All rights reserved. 1,111 words, 33 chapters, 66 pages. Got some ISBN numbers. Dedication. This book is dedicated to all of those who live within the human condition and whom wish to remain anonymous. Table of contents. And dude, I love this book. It is so sick. I cannot believe that this dude let this stuff out. And the way that he... Anyways, yeah, if you want to get away from the cops, it tells you everything in this manual. Yeah, it's on Amazon.com. I'm looking at my motion and shit. It's on Amazon.com. It's called The Imaginary Self, Removing the Veil to Supra Being by Michael William Springer. So, yeah, grab a copy because this shit's dope.